City of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com. SoFloRadio.com presents CEOmanship, becoming a leader in today's business world, with your host, Steve Gordon, CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, an international business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit GordonPartnershipGroup.com. Gordon Partnership Group. Your success is our business. And now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
How we doing, George?
We're doing great.
Oh, I love it.
Too early to start talking about salad?
Too early to start talking about what?
Salad.
Oh, no, it's too early to talk about salad. George, it's another Monday, another beautiful Monday. We are coming live to our listeners across Southern Florida and, of course, across the world, across the globe on SoFlo Radio and SoFloTelevision.com. My name is Steve Gordon, and this is CEOmanship, and it's great to be here. I love starting my week with this show and with you, George. You make my week great, and you give me something to look forward to. You know, some people, they don't really love Mondays. They go to bed at night on Sunday, and they get what they call the Sunday blues, right? Where they're thinking about, I got to go to work on Monday. You know that feeling, maybe?
Yes. Well, I used to have it.
You used to have it. Now you got my show on Monday, so you don't have that.
Looking forward to seeing what your wife has sent for me.
Well, all right. So you're jumping the gun on that, but all right. So yes. So for those of you who are regular listeners and viewers, you know that Lori of SimplyLoriGordon.com. Lori, my wife, but also is a certified holistic health counselor. Loves to spoil George. Oh, me too. And so she always sends me into the studio on Mondays with something really delicious and healthy for George. And today,
and you too, you get some too.
I do. I get to. So today we had a beautiful salad.
What do you call that?
Yeah, it's beautiful with a homemade dressing, because we do not buy bottled dressing in our house because it's full of chemicals and too much salt. By the way, that salt is foreshadowing for something I'm going to mention in a minute. And then you got a homemade gluten-free corn muffin, which is really delicious.
Yeah.
So don't be smothering that like in margarine or something.
And I've been, salads when I went to, pursue my healthy lifestyle. Salads won by elimination because I didn't want to do a lot of carbs, didn't want to do a lot of beans, and I don't like those yucky vegetables like broccoli.
Well, it's funny because our guest today, who we'll bring on in a few minutes, we were talking pre-show, just a little bit of warm-up.
We can tease, man. We just pop her picture on real quick.
All right, there you go.
There's right back.
Now you're off.
Who was that?
You'll get to know in a minute. Yeah. But Julie was talking about how she loves kale, and we'll talk about a little kale before we talk about today's topic, which is
with Julie.
Has to do with interns. Before we get into today's show, though, a couple of things. I wanted to make mention today for those who are in Palm Beach County or even Broward County that want to make a little bit of a drive. The Palm Beach County Go Red for Women campaign, which is the American Heart Association's movement to raise awareness for heart disease. By the way, George, did you know that heart disease is the number one killer in women?
Yes, I did. I talked about that all the time. All the people that I've lost early in my life. Heart disease. I'm
sorry to hear that. Yeah. And heart disease is the number one killer in women. And George, I'm sure you remember, but I lost a very, very, very important person in my life, my mother-in-law, in January to a massive heart attack, and totally unexpected. She was healthy, and so we thought, and it was really sad. Really sad time, and so Lori wanted to do something to honor her mom's memory. So she's leading this year's American Heart Association's Go Red campaign with 12 other women in Palm Beach County. And I think I even sent you something to
yeah, and it's not there. So
all right. Well, we'll try to find it maybe during the break.
I'll pop it on during the
break. Yeah. So to kick off that initiative, Lori wanted to invite 3 of our listeners to a breakfast, which will be held at the Gardens Mall in Palm Beach Gardens on Thursday, November 5th at 9 a.m. And this is going to be a great opportunity to meet with an influential crowd of women who are actively engaged in the fight against heart disease. Our amazing friend, I think you've heard us talk about her, Pam Rausch, is the chair of that event. And Pam is a top executive for a company that everyone here knows, Florida Power and Light. So if you're listening and you'd like to attend this complimentary breakfast, you can contact Lori Gordon, and I'm going to give you her email address. It's Lori, Lori, at simplylorigordon.com. Lori at simplylorigordon.com. And I see George pushed up the Grow Red initiative on the screen, and we'll get that invitation up that I sent you in a little bit. Anyway, when you do contact Lori, if you could just mention that you heard about the event on today's CEOmanship show, we would really appreciate that. And Lori will get in touch with you to send over your invitation, your personal invitation. And what a great cause. Speaking of great causes, I see that you're hitting me up for something here on the desk as well.
Yeah, I don't want to waste your precious show time with that. I'd much rather talk about Lori's amazing food. But the roller derby team, the local roller derby team with whom I'm friends and was friends even before they were into roller derby, because skaters of a feather, we skate together. They're raising money for breast cancer. They're doing a skate-a-thon, and it's not open just for derby girls. Anyone can skate in the skate-a-thon and participate and skate. And I am. I'm going to skate. This old man is going to skate along with these derby girls.
Love it.
And raise some money. So yeah, that's what I was hitting you up for. No,
All right, great.
no
Well,
pressure.
No,
pressure at
that's
all.
a great cause. And so 2 great causes today. So thank you. Today's show is also brought to us by Servy. We talk about this app. Imagine, you know what? Can we bring our guest up live for a sec? I'll give you a formal introduction in a second. But Julie, and we'll tell everybody who you are in a minute. And we'll give your whole
Julie.
You are Super Julie. Julie, imagine if you could just take out your cell phone right now, and because I know you're a busy business owner, and there you go.
It is.
And you push a little button on that phone, and somebody says, "Hi, Super Julie. How can we help you?" And you have your own personal concierge for pennies on the day that would literally help you to make reservations or book tickets for something you couldn't get, or send flowers, or send a note to a client, or so many different things, as well as now, Julie, I know you travel a little bit, right? Sometimes. Okay, so we're going to bring your voice back up in a second, but Julie's saying yes. And so, Julie, imagine that, unfortunately, let's say you took a flight and maybe you got off the airplane and you weren't feeling really well. Maybe your throat was sore. But you could open up Servy, the app, on your phone, and you push a little button, and a Servy doctor a real medical doctor would talk to you and maybe take a look at your throat through your iPhone or your Android, for your Android users, and say, yeah, you know what, you do have a sore throat, and we can prescribe, say, a Z-Pack or some kind of antibiotic, and you could be on your way to your appointment, and they go, oh, by the way, Julie, there's a pharmacy maybe 2 blocks from where you are right now. We see it because of where your phone is, and we could even call that would that be, would that accommodate your needs? And of course you'd say, yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty great, right?
I would be very excited about that. I mean, as business people, we are so crazy to begin with. Anything that'll save time and make it more convenient for us. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
That's great. And, imagine as a business owner, for all the people that you work with, if you had that and you gave it to them, and as the owner of the business, and everybody was able to save a couple of hours a week even, number one, they'd feel appreciated, but number two, you get that much more productivity out of your top producers. And so for individuals, a great product. For corporations, a great product as well. So,
yeah, it sounds like it sounds fantastic. Is there a website?
Well, thank you. So it will be available in a couple of weeks. But the app is called Servy, Sirvi. And for the listeners of this show who would like to have access to the product at no cost to them, and use the service, and we're going to give them a free upgrade for 90 days, which gives them unlimited times to talk to a concierge, etc. If they go to Servy.com and then hit the Contact Us button and just leave us their name and number or email address, we will send them a 2-week advance notice to let them use the product before anybody else, because they are listeners to this show or fans of Super Julie Braun and Super Interns. So I guess that's a good time for me to tell everybody who you are. So Super Julie Braun is I guess they would say, a sort of clever cocktail of right brain creativity and big picture, and left brain knowledge and process, and a splash of sassy attitude. And let me tell our listeners, if I didn't know that, because we've been on shows before together, but if I didn't know that already, I knew from the first 5 minutes of pre-show talk, you had George and I on our toes.
Yeah, definitely sassy. You didn't warn me. You didn't warn me this morning when you said we were going to have a guest on. You didn't warn me about the sass,
Yes, but let me tell you,
been ready for it.
But with all the fun, let me just say this: in your corporate career, Super Julie, you've held creative director, executive vice president, and CMO, chief marketing officer positions with some pretty well-known brands like Victoria's Secret. George, you know that one.
No.
You go shopping there all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes, I do.
MTV, Bath and Body Works, Estee Lauder, Nike, Carter's Children's Wear. In fact, at Carter's, I understand, Julie, that in just 18 months, your team contributed to the company doubling their business from $500 million, so $500 million, to over $1 billion in 18 months, which also led to a public stock offering, which is really amazing. And then you started your own company, Super Interns and superinterns.com. And you did exactly what you do best. You immediately recruited interns to help grow your own business. And then your interns were working directly with clients on pretty high-level projects, which served as serving as integral contributing members of your team. So we are so glad to have you on the phone. And on the show today, I want to tell you, this whole thing came about because I'm at the movies this weekend, and I go to see The Intern with Robert De Niro. And I had all these sort of mixed emotions because at first I was thinking about my own 85-year-old father, who was a very successful business professional, started his own business in his 50s. And then I was thinking about Lori's dad. Both of our fathers, unfortunately, in the not-so-distant past, lost their spouses of 50-plus years. And so my first thoughts turned to, there's these great people like my father and Lori's dad. And of course, living in Florida, it's a different world. Everybody we associate with, for the most part, tends to be in their late 60s, early 70s. They've retired from great jobs. I had dinner the other night, at our table with the CEO of a very, very large insurance company, and a real down-to-earth guy. And so then we started thinking after the show, Lori and I talked about it, and we said, not just our parents, but what about ourselves, right? I can't tell Lori's age, but I am 53. And, we're probably in the sweet spot of our careers, but I get it. Like, I understand why this movie made so much sense, because in the movie, Robert De Niro, who's 70, isn't ready to retire, lost his wife, and so he decides he wants to take a job as an intern with this really high-tech, really cool online business with all these sort of young 20s. It reminded me sort of Mark Zuckerberg in the Facebook story.
Yes.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I think what really struck me about the movie, because I saw it similar to you, I saw it on Friday with some friends, and I actually saw it with one of my interns. So that was really kind of cool. But I think what is really interesting, in the movie, he had been retired for 8 years before he made this decision, before he saw the flyer that said, come and be an intern. And he had done all of these things in those 8 years. He had taken yoga classes, cooking classes. He learned how to do, what is that martial art?
I think it was Tai Chi.
Tai Chi.
And he traveled.
Yeah. Yeah, and he had done all of these things, but even that had not really filled the space that he had in his life from his work life and also his wife passing away.
Yeah.
And I think what the movie was so great at really hitting home on is that we all need a place where we belong. We all need a place to go to. We need to be contributors. We need to feel like whatever we're doing matters.
Well, do you remember the scene, Julie, when he said, I get up and I go to Starbucks every day he needs to feel like he has a purpose and a place to go. And so many people can relate. And he sits down, he gets dressed in his jacket and tie, and he's got his newspaper. And these the scene is so funny because these two young guys come to the table, and they're like, "Hey, can we sit here?" And he perks right up because he thinks they're going to have a conversation. But still, I totally get it. When you're in that work mode, and then all of a sudden one day you're not, and you want to feel a sense of purpose.
Yes.
Wow, I can't imagine what that will feel like. I don't think I'll ever retire, and I know Lori and I talk about this all the time.
I'm never going to retire either. I know I say that now, and maybe I'll change my mind in the future. But I think the idea of retirement in the past is different from retirement now. People will do things that they really love, their passion. So whether it's volunteer work or whether it's golfing every day, whatever their passion is, as long as they, again, have a place to go, to be with people, to establish relationships, to not be isolated, to feel connected, to have a greater purpose. All of those things are, what human beings are all about. And so to say at 64 or whatever that age is that we're all supposed to be retiring, I think it's really an antiquated idea. And what I love about the movie is, in my business, we have interns who are 18 to 88. Okay, not 88. We've got one that's 64. But, if somebody 88 came to us, and they had enough technology skills to be able to read an email and get onto our online office, we would definitely bring them on board.
I would find that it's probably, anyone in the 60s, I would think at this point. I mean, my 85-year-old dad just said, I was at dinner with him last night, he's like, he just to be subtle, he goes, "So what version iPhone do you have?" Right? And I go, "Oh, it's a 6, Dad." And he goes, he puts his phone down on the table because he just got a new one like yesterday, right? He upgraded from the 5 to the 6. And I go, "Is that a 6 too, Dad?" And the other day, Lori and I are with my dad, and I look at, he's looking at his phone, and I watch him, and his fingers are sort of sliding across the phone. And it occurred to me that my dad is deleting email at 85. I granted, it's just the same old jokes that have been circulating around from his friends up north. But the fact that he can do that, so, it's a couple things. My research showed that 10,000 baby boomers will turn 65 years old today and every single day for the next 15 years. 65 is not old. And that's the quote, magic age to retire? Go ahead.
It's really remarkable. It's really remarkable how many people, and then what are all those people going to do? I hope they don't do what a lot of people do, which is, kind of move into a retirement community. And then, that's when people, their lives can either take off at 65 or it can be their demise.
Well, there's a lot going on here because you've got certain boomers that are prepared for retirement, both financially and emotionally, and others that are not. In fact, only 60% of baby boomers today report having any retirement savings. I mean, any at all. 36% said that they plan to retire at 70 or older, and only 27% are confident that they're even going to have enough saved away for retirement. So, there's a lot of reasons why our seniors are still working. But the question is, do you want to take that job somewhere as a minimum wage employee because that's what you feel you can do? Or do you want to go back and recreate yourself to be something that you've always wanted to do? Living here in Florida, one of the things that I recognize is that as I spend time with folks that are older, sometimes in their 80s and 90s, I realize more and more the absolute value that someone who is 20, 30, 40 years older than I am can bring to the table. The experiences, the stories, the people they know, the way they did things. It's interesting because you're in this business of providing interns. And so let's use this as a jumping point to talk a little bit about maybe how you started this business, and what it sort of started as and where it is today.
Well, I started the business, really, I started superinterns.com over 8 years ago. But I started the inception of the idea probably closer to 16 years ago. I had left corporate America. I was really kind of tired. It's a place where I had always been, working for big box brands. And I did as well as I could. I went as high as I could. But at some point, I was kind of dissatisfied. And I thought, I'm going to start my own business. So I started my first business, which was a marketing consulting business. And Steve, 6 weeks in, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I stared at the ceiling and I said, oh my God, I'm going to fail.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, it happened.
So what was the moment there? What woke you up in the middle of the night and caused you this sort of moment of panic?
I had always been in a structure. I'd always been supported by a company. I'd always had teams of people working for me. I always had, crazy budgets. I mean, if you can imagine, millions of dollars to spend every quarter on projects or creative or whatever it was. And this time I was doing everything on my own. And I just had that realization of, oh my gosh, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Well, was that the realization, or was the realization that there are some people that they feel like they've got to be in control, and so sometimes to people's demise, but potential demise, is the ability or inability to delegate and feel comfortable allowing other people to take over a task for you.
Well, you hit on it, because in that moment I was saying, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm going to fail. And it was a very rough night. The next morning I'm in the bathroom, I look in the mirror and I said it again out loud. Oh my God, I'm going to fail. I need help. And it was like a thought balloon popped up in the mirror above my head that said, get interns.
And did you have any, how did you, so from there, have you worked with interns before in your other corporations?
I had always had teams of people, and I was fortunate that when human resources would come to us and say, oh, the interns are going to start, September 1st or whatever the date. How many of you want interns? I would always say, oh, I'll take as many as I can get. I'll take 10, 20, 30, as many as I can get. And people would kind of laugh and say, oh no, honey, you don't want 10 or 20 interns. That's too many. And I would be like, well, I think I can handle it. And
when they said too
HR,
many, I'm sorry. When they said too many, was it because they thought that a new intern, or what was the mindset?
That was the mindset. The mindset was, you were going to be answering every question. You're never going to get anything done. They're going to monopolize all of your time. You're going to end up hating them. And I was of a totally different mindset. So when they would bring the interns, I would immediately get them started off on projects. I would get them integrated into, here's what I want you to do. Here's the project. Get started. I'd like to touch base with you maybe tomorrow morning to see how things are going, or at the end of the day. And in a matter of a few hours, I had all 10 or 20 of my interns working on very high-level, viable projects. And then my coworkers would start walking over to my office, and they'd stand at the door. I remember one guy in particular, and he whispered, "What are you having your interns do?" And I just kind of laughed. I said, "Well, come on over. I'll show you." And I would walk him down all the cubicles and say, "Well, this is Sally, and she's working on this project, and this is Bob, and he's working on that project." And we would get back to my office, and this guy said, I don't know what to give my intern. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you send them over to me? I'll keep them busy until you get something together, and I'll send them back happily when you're ready. Well, I practically doubled my interns because everyone started dumping their interns on me. And so now my team is not, 10 or 20. Now it's double that. And everybody in the office is like, how is she getting this army of interns to do all this stuff for her? And I knew I was special in that area, but I really didn't know that it was such a talent until even much later when it was pointed out to me again. But I knew I needed to get interns for that first business, that first marketing consulting business of mine, and I did. And every year, my business doubled.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and it didn't double because of me. It doubled because of the people. It doubled because of the people power, the skill, the level of knowledge, the diversity that I was bringing into my business.
And, if our listeners go to superinterns.com and they click on Meet Our Team, when you speak about diversity, I was looking, and you have some group of interns there, and you know what? It is a diverse group, and that is the real world, and so you should be applauded. Let me ask you before we go to break. So you realized you needed some interns for yourself. So where before there was superinterns.com, where did you turn? How did you go about this process?
Well, that was a little bit more difficult. You can pretty much you can walk out to the street and you can find yourself an intern. But the thing is, you're not going to know the level of quality. You don't know if they're going to keep their promises. So it took me a little while to develop a system. But when I developed that system, and now there are so many online posting sites. One of my favorite posting sites is internships.com. I love it. We, love them. We think that they're a fantastic company. They have millions of interns that are waiting for an internship.
Wow.
And likewise, there's probably tens of thousands of companies there looking for interns. So it's kind of a matchmaking site. It's very good. But there's lots and lots of local sites, and there's local colleges have got great internship programs. So it's very easy to find interns now. The problem is in interns is, like my coworkers, when you get the intern, what do you do with them? If you don't have a process, if you don't have a plan, if you don't really know, then they will end up doing everything that my coworkers were telling me. They will monopolize all of your time. They will not do a whole lot for your business. They will take your eye off the game. But if you have a plan and a process, then interns can help you grow your business like nothing else that I've ever experienced.
So when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that process. I'm also curious what type of screening one would do to ensure that they have the right match for the right client, and that you're really bringing in a qualified intern. So I'm going to ask you to just stay with us for a little bit. We're going to take a break in just a quick second. For those of you listening around the world, my name is Steve Gordon. Our guest today is Super Julie Braun from superinterns.com. Great interview so far. Don't go away. We'll be right back on SoFloRadio.com.
More CEOmanship with Steve Gordon next on SoFloRadio.com.
Strawberry patch and smoothie come.
Get your hands off me!
Huh?
I said don't touch me!
I shouldn't have went to that party last night. Now I'm seeing talking fruit.
You're not dreaming bub of it, and you're not putting me in that blender to do.
But you're just a fruit.
Who you calling a fruit?
You are. You're a delicious passion fruit.
Why, sure, I'm passionate. How would you like to be blended, huh? I got right, you know.
Customer's waiting. You gotta go.
Yeah, but wait, you can...
At Power Smoothie in Aventura, we show fruit no mercy. Always fresh, always delicious. To make the best smoothies and wraps on earth, try our new cilantro lime-alicious wrap or our hot chipotle chicken. Power Smoothie in Aventura, located just north of the Aventura Mall in the Promenade Shops. Or call 305-792-5338. Open 7 days a week. Here's the latest ratings you asked for.
What is this? Where did all our listeners go?
SoFloRadio.com.
SoFlo, what channel is that on?
It's online, sir. Wi-Fi radio.
Oh, I see.
But what channel is it on?
Put your business on the leading edge of media advertising with the SoFloRadio.com network. Unlike antiquated AM or FM radio, your professionally produced 30 or 60-second ad will be heard live on SoFloRadio.com during the day and will be downloaded thousands of times a day on SoFloRadio.com, as well as being heard on our free podcasts on iTunes. Wi-Fi radio and Bluetooth are now available with BMW, Ford, GM Cars and Trucks. Don't get left behind. Contact SoFloRadio.com for details and our very affordable rates. SoFloRadio.com. Stay ahead of the game.
Now, back to CEOmanship with Steve Gordon on SoFloRadio.com.
We are back. So good to be back here. What kind of music you playing there, George?
Oh, this is Crazy Train by Pat Boone.
When I said Crazy Train, I meant Ozzy Osbourne, not Pat Boone.
Well,
Wrong show.
It's got some fat horns, Dad.
Okay, but when I say horns, I'm looking like this kind of horns. And those of you who are just listening, not watching, I'm doing the old Ozzy horns. All right, well, I'll work on you. I thought you were a radio guy, George. 19 years, top talk show. Guess they didn't play any music.
Sure, funny music.
Oh my goodness. So on the other side of the country, actually, and live today on our show, Super Julie Braun, CEO of superinterns.com. We were talking about the importance of interns in growing a business. Julie was telling her story about how she started this company and realized that she herself needed interns. We started out by talking a little bit about the fact that there is such great value to seniors. And one of the things that you were we just talked about at the end of the first segment was the fact that your co-workers were saying to you, oh, Julie, getting interns is like babysitting. I mean, I'm putting those words in your mouth. But it's going to take you more time. And one of the things that I picked up from the movie The Intern the other night, but it was certainly made sense, and in several articles that I read while preparing for today's show, is that when you bring in a senior as a senior citizen as an intern, they don't need to be wound up and said this is what you do, because they've got 30, 40 years of experience. Robert De Niro comes to work the first day with his his briefcase, takes out his old little his clock, and so he knows what time it is,
His Rolodex.
Right? All these things, a calculator, and these kids are all looking at him like, what is that? But you know what? He was prepared. Early on, I think it was the second day of his work, the alarm goes off, and you see him pop up, and he's already dressed, like he's been waiting for the alarm to go off. And there's such great value to wisdom, and
Definitely.
So tell me, Joy, and tell our listeners, if you would, when you're now going through the process, how do you sort of vet what's a quality fit even for your company? And then how do you then take that process and extrapolate it forward to find the right intern for the right company? And how does that process work with super interns?
It's a really good question. We struggled with this for a long time in the beginning of our business. We found a process that's called top grading, and we use this process. It really helps you identify the top 10% of any group of people that you're meeting with. So if we need 10 interns, we already know that we're going to go through 100 people to get those 10. And I think it kind of sets the expectations of it's going to take a little work on the upfront side for us, but on the other side, it pays back tenfold because you have a higher caliber of person. You have people who have integrity. And our entire process, we've built in all of these tests, as it were, for the intern.
So
they really don't know, though.
Let me ask you this. So you need 100 potential interns to find your top 10%. So my two questions for you would be, number one, where do you find these 100? Do you go to other intern sites? And number two, for lack of a better way of asking this, what do you do with the other 90?
Oh, fantastic. So the way that we find interns come to us in droves. I can get anywhere between 300 to 500 resumes a week.
That's unbelievable.
So interns know about our company. The word has spread very quickly. Many interns come directly to us because they kind of want to stay out of the posting site arena because not all posting sites are created equal. Even the best ones don't necessarily always provide the best experience for everybody, but they'll come to us. We do use posting sites. We have a whole team of HR talent scouts, and all they do is look for talent for us. That is their 365 day a year work, their job. And so they're always looking for talent for us. They're always bringing new people to the table. It doesn't matter. Christmas Day, this last year, I got 4 people. Our talent scout said, this person's ready to start as soon as possible. It was Christmas Day. And I was thinking, don't most people even take this week off? And the answer is no. They are on that 24/7, kind of thinking. So we have tons of people, and colleges and universities, we have relationships with 3,500 colleges and universities across the country. So that's where another big batch of interns come to us.
When you say or use the term talent scouts, so to say, I think about that man or the woman that's sitting in the high school gymnasium watching a kid throw free throws or volleyball tournament or I mean I don't want to put you on the spot to give away any of your trade secrets, but how do these talent scouts scout talent? Try saying that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I can't. We train them. We train them our process, our system. And again, this has been something that we've been building for a very long time. I mean, 8 years, we kind of sort of know what we're doing by now. But because there's all of these touch points and tests throughout, it's very easy for us to identify the winners. One of the things, though, Steve, is that we're dealing with people. People are unpredictable by the very nature of our existence. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what they're going to say. We don't know how they're going to behave. But the testing kind of shows to us and demonstrates whether they're going to be a good intern or not. And then because we have such a wide variety, our business is predominantly virtual. So all of our interns can work anywhere, anytime, any place. They're all across the country. It doesn't matter if they have a job or children or they're a retiree looking, they're bored during the day. Maybe they have a disability. Or perhaps they have a problem with transportation. It doesn't matter. Wherever they are, they can work from there. And we connect them with companies that are forward-thinking, that understand virtual. Look at us. Today we're doing this radio show. I'm in Seattle, Washington. You're in Southern Florida. No big deal. We're able to talk. We're able to get business done.
Right.
Every time we pick up the phone, we're working virtually. Every time that we answer a text, we're working virtually. The fact that people still go into offices every day kind of astounds me, but that's okay. I'm all for that. I come to my own office, which happens to be in my home.
You were saying earlier about the need for structure when you
Yes.
first started. So I do understand that there are different kinds of people. There are some people that really need the social aspect, the structure. There are people that truly, I think, like to sort of know what's coming around the corner, and they know what's coming each day at work. And there are other people that go, oh, I couldn't imagine having to live a life like that. But that's why there are jobs for all different kinds of people. So,
Yes.
George and I were talking earlier. I know, George, you have a couple of interns. You've had several.
Yeah.
We had a young man who helped a couple of times with my show.
Sure.
I can't remember his name right now.
Was it Anthony?
It was intern Anthony. I'm so sorry, Anthony. He worked for you, not for me.
Right.
But intern Anthony was great, and I really enjoyed having him.
He's an employee now, and he has an intern now.
So, Julie, does that happen often when people hire an intern through you or another service? These interns often then get hired full time?
It does. And that actually is probably the best way to leverage an intern. When you bring an intern on board, you don't know what you're really going to get. You discover over the course of time, yes, this person is a fast learner, and yes, they've taught me some things, and they keep their promises, and they're producing quality work. Well, when you have an opening on your team, who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the person that already knows your brand, that already understands you, that already is doing the work. Just move them into a paid position, and there's ways of doing that. Maybe first they start off as a freelancer, or they're a paid contractor before you move them into an employee role. But it's a great way because studies show, and I'm not going to get this number right, so I'm not going to quote any numbers, but studies do show that there is an increased level of loyalty between an intern that translates to an employee. They feel more loyalty towards the company. They feel like the company has invested in them in their beginning. They've taught them a lot of things. So it's a great way to grow your business. We have a client actually up in Connecticut, digital surgeons. And when we first started working with them, there were 3 people. Now there's somewhere around 75 people, probably even more. Almost all of their employees started off as interns. They've won numerous awards, Webby Awards, and all kinds of amazing digital media awards because of their interns. So we see this happening over and over and over again, and I don't think it happens by mistake.
Well, it sounds like you've got this process pretty well down. It's interesting. It's not 100% related. But you're talking about loyalty from an intern moving into either a freelancer or a paid position. Right before the show, George and I were speaking about a corporation down here, a grocery store, and this particular grocery store has really great customer service. And George said to me, well, that starting at the very, very beginning, whether it's somebody just bagging your groceries, all of those employees are earning stock options. So they are an employee-owned corporation. And we were, I said, it makes sense. And George is saying, look, now, we're working for ourselves. And so there is loyalty to that store. There's loyalty to the brand. They want to make sure it works, everybody's happy. The customers are happy. And I imagine that's the same way. Hiring an intern that you potentially move into a full-time position, it is. It's sort of like dating, because you get to know each other, and the first couple of dates, everybody's on their best behavior. A little while later, that real person comes out. You realize they're not the same picture that they were on, on the profile. But if you can put up with all of that, you realize that you've done your own personal vetting, and you are in a position to make an offer to somebody is a really good fit for your company.
For sure. That's so funny, Steve, that you're using the dating analogy because I use it all the time. I use, that yes, you're dating somebody, and in the beginning, you never walk into a bar and ask every person at the bar, "Do you want to marry me? Do you want to marry me? Do you want to marry me?"
Well, George does.
No.
Yeah. That's how I got married.
Oh, I'm sorry, George. Well, I hope it worked out for you.
No.
He now knows he needs an intern.
Worked out for her, not me.
Oh my goodness. But we know that the dating piece is that you are getting to know them, you are understanding them better, and really seeing who they are. I'm just curious, George. You mentioned Anthony. What position is he now as an employee for your company?
He's a producer. He has 2 radio shows that he produces himself, and he's training a friend that wanted to get into it, because that's how we get interns in radio. Is they litter the floor. They're outside the door right now, wanting to get into show business, because it's a glamour profession. So
Right.
one of his friends, almost from the very beginning that Anthony started interning here, wanted to intern also. So he's training his friend to do what he's doing, and of course having his friend do the interny stuff. Now that Anthony understands the process, so
That's great. And
he does what I'm doing right now, producing a show for someone. That's what he does for other people as well.
Very impressive. And Steve, do you have any interns? Have you ever had interns, and what's been your experience?
I have not, and there was a time actually when Lori and I, and our consulting business was getting fairly busy. We were still in Connecticut, and we actually were just about ready to pull the plug, because we realized that like you, we couldn't do everything. But being in the consulting business, for us, here I am. I'm the guy who couldn't let go. Right, I got to do everything myself.
Yeah.
But I'm going to turn this back around to George for a minute, because the time that you put in to teaching Anthony now has leveraged yourself twice, because Anthony's now doing several shows, and I'm sure that he is out looking for even new shows.
I'm ecstatic that a new employee essentially is getting trained, and I don't have to take the time to train them.
And
Anthony's doing it for free, and the kid's training for free.
And these guys, their incentive would be, of course, now that I can produce a show, wouldn't it be nice to have a show to produce? So I would believe that these 2 gentlemen, Anthony, I say gentleman, I don't know if it's his friend's male or female, but it doesn't matter.
Male.
But male, okay. So these 2 gentlemen will probably be out scouring for new talent, not to teach to produce, but to produce themselves, so that they can, what good is being a producer if you don't have a show?
Yep.
Well, guys, you know what I think is interesting? Because this is where people usually go with interns. They usually say, I've got to find an intern who can replicate what I do. And that is one way of doing this. George, you're doing it with Anthony. You found somebody who can replicate, not completely, no one will ever be another George, but he can
you don't know how true that is.
He can do what you are doing, and that's going to help increase your business and your shows and all of that. The way we think about internships is that way and different, because we think of internships as all of the people doing all of the stuff to support the business. Now, in every business, wouldn't it be great if you had a army of interns and all they did was scouted talent for you? Wouldn't that be awesome? That
would be.
And all they did was bring you deals. Like, hey, here's a show for you. How would you, do you think this show has viability? Here's all the things that we put together. Here's the person. The fact that you wouldn't have to do it, and you've got a team, an army of interns doing that for you, I don't know. I think that would be something that you might be interested in. And Steve, for you, when we think of social media, because you've got to do social media with the show, have teams of interns. I've got a little army of interns doing our social media. I've got a team of interns doing our blogging. I haven't written a blog in probably 3 years.
And I was just saying today how incredible your content was.
Thank you. Thank you. And our team of interns, they're writers, they're creative, they understand our brand, they're pushing out tons of content. We actually had over a year's worth of blogs already scheduled, already planned out, already written, all ready to go. So God forbid something happened, like I was going to take a vacation for 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever. It would be okay because the blog would continue to just still be pushed out there. I wouldn't have to worry about it for a year.
That's unbelievable. So let me ask a couple of questions then, as I have been since it's my show, George.
That's your job.
Yeah. Once again, I'm losing control, but that's okay. So let's say that George or I or one of our listeners, or maybe the great people at Survey, Survey.com, and they would like to have access to a couple of super interns. What would be the process? Is there a financial? Obviously, you're a business, so there's got to be some kind of financial connection. I don't know if that's on a case-by-case basis or if there's some kind of standard agreement, how that works. But what is sort of the process that one goes through when they want to work with one of your super interns?
Well, that's the very first step is we have a conversation with them because we usually discover they don't need one intern. They need 10 or 20. And that may just make your head explode. You might
George's
just think,
did. You had no idea.
Yeah, no, I could use 20 interns right now.
Okay, well, we could do that. The thing that we would teach you, George, that would be very different from probably what you experienced with Anthony. This is why people say the words like, oh, I have to babysit my intern, is because they feel like they have to teach their intern everything. And the way that we work our business and the way that we work with our clients is interns are not taught by their mentor beyond the mentorship and maybe the managing of the intern. They're really going in and they are learning. They become the expert in a matter of 1 or 2 weeks. They become an expert in whatever area it is that we put them in.
So let me interrupt for just a quick second. I apologize, but you have an intern. We're talking about someone maybe who's virtual.
Yeah.
How would you find a local intern if you could for George? But what if you couldn't? Because the truth is, you could do a show on SoFlo radio and television from anywhere in the world, and come in through video, and George could hook that all up. We're talking about putting this show inside the Survey app and streaming it, live to their 9 some odd million users of their prior app. So, how does one who's virtual get up to speed when they can't just sort of listen and watch George?
It's so much easier than you think. So let's pick a position first. That will make the storytelling a lot easier. So let's say that the position is, let's use a talent scout because you guys like that. So George, if you wanted somebody and all they were going to do was find you talent out in the universe who wanted to do a show on your radio station, when they first come to you, they're going to say, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. How do I do this? And you may know or you may not know the best way for them to find talent. So you might give them a couple bird crumbs to follow. But the thing I always ask people is, well, I'm not really sure. What do you think we should do?
Okay.
And they will almost say, well, gosh, I mean, I guess I could start by doing research on Google.
Okay.
And I would say, that sounds like a great idea. Let's start there. Let's go right now and let's look to see how we can find the best talent for a radio show.
I always teach them to go to a bar, close to closing time and about an hour before closing time and find somebody that looks really sad and dejected and say, hey, how would you like to be on the radio?
Yeah, just find a warm body, okay? Yeah, that sounds great. But we get them in the mode of doing research their first week. And even if you have a process, which is great, we want to utilize the process because if your process works and it's fantastic, then use it. But we still want them doing research, because what we know is, here's a statistic that I just learned. College kids, by their second year of college, already 3/4 of what they've learned has become obsolete.
I thought you were going to say already know that they want to go move back in with their parents.
No, those.
No, that's unbelievable.
Had a Cuban
By
joke
the
there, but I'll
second
let it go.
year, 3/4 of what they've learned is
Yeah.
obsolete.
Yeah.
So
I
anything
learned that
you're going to teach
firsthand.
them,
I took a key punch class in high school.
A key punch class.
Those cards. I learned how to make those cards. And even while we're in that class, I go like, this is not really a thing anymore, is it? Already,
No,
the
they
school
moved
was
to
a little
tape.
bit behind. Yeah.
as you're sitting there,
Right.
you're seeing the boat kind of go by.
Well,
It's like this was like if I took a class in like coal steam engines, it would have been more relevant, because there still are coal steam engines.
That is hilarious.
Well,
So, yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, Julie, we're running up against a hard end, believe it or not, and we're going to have a hard break and wrap this show up in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to say thank you. You were a great guest, and your content was exceptional. I received several text messages here that just said, you're great. And so we agree, George and I, and we want to say thank you for getting up early and putting on a great show. So if somebody wants to reach you, Super Julie Braun, who is the CEO of superinterns.com, and you're interested in learning about either being an intern or maybe actually hiring interns for your company, how do they reach you?
Yes, just go to superinterns.com. And we have a little menu at the top, and you can just approach us, contact us is a good way. You can even go right on to my online scheduler, which is there at superinterns.com. All the information's there.
Well, thank you. And I hope that our listeners will take advantage of this opportunity. Julie, you've done a great job, not only on the show today, but with your company. And you continue to do a great job. And I know that you've helped a lot of, I would say young folks, but today we know that our interns are, as you said, 18 to 88 in the very beginning of the show.
That's right.
And so if you are one of our smart retirees and you're not ready to kick back and just go bowling every day, and the mahjong scene is not yours, please reach out to Julie, because, there's a lot more.
What's wrong with mahjong?
Well, we're in Southern Florida. George, thank you.
Steve, my pleasure.
I appreciate everything you do to make this show great and make it look like it's easy.
Thank
and
you,
make
Lori.
It look, and you're thanking Lori for your salad.
Yeah.
And the cornbread. My name is Steve Gordon, and I am the CEO of the Gordon Partnership Group. Today's show, again, brought to us by Survey, survey.com. Get yourself early access and free membership by going to survey.com and filling out a Contact Us form, and we will let you know as soon as possible. And you'll be up and running and asking your personal concierge for all different kinds of fun things, and we can't wait to hear your survey stories. I look forward to being back with you, speaking to you, and your comments, your posts, your texts, your tweets, and all that fun stuff next Monday at 12 noon Eastern Time on SoFlo Television and SoFloRadio.com.
Streaming live from the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com.